The format of the multiple choice questions, it is the first part of the world history exam, and it is 55 questions in 55 minutes, which, while it sounds like you get no time for a question, it really is a lot of time when you think about it. Each question will always come with a stimulus, which is going to be like a text or a picture, a map, a painting, can be some other things. The questions will always go in chronological order. So question 1 will be on period 1 and a couple other questions, and then it goes period 2, period 3, and it is 40% of your AP score. So it's technically the most important, though it's all up to your strengths. If you're better at multiple choice questions than you are the DBQ, then you should practice the DBQ more so. Something about scoring with the multiple choice questions, you'll earn 1 point for every correctly answered question, obviously, but there's the format of the exam. It goes multiple choice questions, short answer questions, the DBQ, and the LEQ. So there's all 4, but there's a small break in between part 1 and part 2. And you won't be penalized for any incorrect answers. So you should give an answer for everything. Never leave anything blank for this test. If you even just guess, if you try to narrow it down and then guess what you can, that'd be my best advice, because by leaving something blank, you are shooting yourself in the foot, giving yourself 0% chance of getting it right. Basically, yeah, give an answer for everything. Never, even if it just comes down to a guess of all 4 answers and you have no idea, you at least have somewhat of a chance of getting it right. So the first one, I think we all know what this is. It's process of elimination. It's pretty much used on any multiple choice test. It's a general strategy, and it gets rid of any blatantly wrong answers. So it helps you narrow down your choices to 2 or sometimes even 1 answer, and it gets rid of distractors. So distractors are essentially answers where someone might think they're correct, but there's something just off about them enough to make them wrong. So they're really, you got to learn how to look for these, and I definitely have fallen for them. They're easy to fall for. Budgeting your time. This is definitely a really important skill to have on the exam, because unless you are a special case, you don't get infinite time. You're given, if you just divide, it's 1 minute per question on average. So it's actually a lot of time. Be sure not to stick around a question for a really long time. If you need to spend, a few extra seconds on a question, don't kill yourself over it. But if you're really stuck on a question and you've been spending the last 5 minutes on it, you might want to put down your best guess and then go to the next question and maybe circle it on what I did was I would have the Scantron, and for the ones that I didn't really have much confidence in, I just circled them on the Scantron, like the little number. The problem is that reading the stimulus and understanding the stimulus takes a few minutes. That's true. Speaking of reading the passages, read them carefully, but not monotonously. So don't look into every little detail, every little nook and cranny into the document and think into it super deeply. You want to read it, read the source information, read everything in the document, understand it, but don't worry if you don't understand what this one word means, or don't understand if you don't understand the intricacies of the Islamic empires to the point where you can say date-wise. Like, it's not the most important thing. The passages, that's what we're going to be going over first. The passages are probably usually going to be around a paragraph long. Sometimes you'll get poems or stuff like that, but it's never too long. It's usually manageable. Read the source info. I see a lot of people screw that up. Read the date and the author, because that can really influence your decision, because the sourcing is incredibly important to establishing proper context to help your answer. So if you get a question on the Middle Ages and you see an answer that says the rise of the Roman Empire, would that be the right answer? Yes or no? All right. Maps and photos. If you don't have a book, I recommend buying a review book. I say AMSCO is a good book. It's definitely good. I know I have my right here, my trustworthy, Princeton Review 2017. This thing got me through, hard times. But I'd say get a review book and be sure to use it if you want, or just use your own resources. If you're good at reading, then buy a review book. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. Maps and photos. So sometimes you will get a map or a painting or a photo, something like that, as your stimulus. These, for me especially, besides maps, they tended to be some of the hardest ones, because with writing, it's directly in front of you, where with a painting or a photo, you have to kind of, interpret. So examine it carefully and note things about it that are important. So note, oh, this person's bowing down. Oh, they, paint this because of this, but also try your best not to extrapolate things that aren't true. Don't think just because there's a rose bush in the background of a small painting, that doesn't mean something grand and huge. They're not going to ask about something tiny. They're going to ask about the source specifically and the meat of it. Reading and answering the question. This is the meat of what you're going to be doing. Most of it is going to be answering questions. So first of all, read the question carefully. I think most of us are probably familiar with the fact that you have to read a multiple choice question carefully. And the College Board, they love to use words like not, except, best, things that like qualifiers that will change the answer. And you got to understand what the question is asking specifically. So you got to make sure you don't get tripped up on the question. You don't get tripped up on what's being said, et cetera, et cetera. Read all the answer choices. It's important to do so because there could be a better answer for D, for example.